Community and Wellbeing Officer. The Community and Wellbeing Officer advocates for and supports student mental health. They will work closely with university support services and champion student wellbeing.
Welcome to Candidate Interview Night. My name is Tolan Enderby and I'm joined in the studio by Nick Show-Hayes, who is running for Community and Wellbeing Officer. Nick, welcome.
Hello, thanks so much for getting me on board.
Absolutely, fantastic. So, you're running for Community and Wellbeing Officer. I'd like to jump straight in and talk about the first point in your manifesto, which is, of course, the cost of living, which is affecting loads of students. And I understand this is quite a big thing for you in your manifesto.
Yeah, so I think one of my first points, I think my memory, and this is anecdotal because I'm a stick, and what I've talked to is that the sign-ins are getting earlier and earlier every year, and this is letting landlords kind of exploit students. They're being able to push them forward, putting up prices.
Yeah, brilliant. And the issue with that, you're claiming that the issues, it's with landlords. I'd like to know if you could explain how you intend to ensure that letting agents and landlords, who are primarily focused on students' money, how you're willing to change their peripheral on the matter.
I see. So, well, firstly, by letting students know more about what kind of is a good price setting, what was good in previous years, I think it might mean that the students in this year might think that maybe we'll hold out, we won't pay that, this isn't a good deal, and it stops kind of this panicking rush where people end up in bad deals. So
Brilliant.
That's one way.
So we're talking about your good price gorge there.
Yes, yeah.
Now, do things like this not already exist? We're talking about quantitative information on websites.
Sure. So they don't exist for previous years.
Right.
They only exist for things this year.
Brilliant. Okay. Going into the second one, we were talking about second agenda, lobbying the university to continue strike pay.
Oh yeah, that was one. Is that my three main points? Was this?
No. We're still on the main point of cost of living.
Okay, yes, So on this, a lot of times, the withheld strike pay gets put into cost of living.
Yep.
It's just a commitment for that to continue doing that, because this is how we've got lots of fantastic cost of living initiatives.
So I have a question regarding this point, and in the same cost of living, your next bullet point, you talk about lobbying the university continue putting withdrawn strike pay, but then you also talk about keeping pressure on the university on their commitments to end precarious casual contracts. Now, you are running for a student union position.
Yes.
Wouldn't you not argue that postgraduates, one, are staff of the university?
Yes.
And two, these points in your manifesto seem to be saying you just want to continue things that already exist.
So, what's happened around firstly, what I would say is that the university didn't put I don't think they put any time commitment for when they're going to say end these contracts. This is pushing them further to make sure they actually go through with their commitment. They put out a statement last year.
So do you not believe that the university are going to follow through with their commitment?
I'm unsure. And frankly, even if they follow through now, they may go a few years later reintroduce them again, and that's why it's important to keep the pressure on.
Brilliant. Okay, moving on to your second point about well-being. You talk about gaps in the current structure in freshers and well-being and the stick system. So you said yourself that you were a stick this year.
Yeah.
And the second point, you do specifically talk about you want college well-being officers to plug gaps in the current structure. Could you tell me what those current gaps in the structure are?
Now, I have to say this in a very careful way. A lot of this information I got from NightSafe. I'm a NightSafe volunteer as well.
Brilliant.
Lots of it is confidential, but essentially I'd see times when there'd be lots of college wellbeing officers who would basically have to step in, and they'd feel that, and they'd be basically pressured, and they'd have lots of situations to deal with right in front of the club, and I want to make sure that those college wellbeing officers feel like they don't have to go through something like that again.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Okay, moving on, I want to talk about the inaccessible check-in system that you mentioned regarding fight for international student visas not to be impacted by the strike. Now, I was sort of confused by the sort of add-on of the inaccessible check-in system. Could you explain your issues with it and what you want to do? So,
in a sense, I felt this was mostly connected to this issue. Basically, for a lot of international students, it's extremely inaccessible. They like to watch things at home.
Brilliant.
They then want to watch things on slower play because English isn't their first language. Having a system where they have to kind of be there. Firstly, it means that they've got to kind of go in person when it's not necessarily convenient, but also this is really brought in because of the visa system, which I think is unfair anyway.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And if you could summarise your entire manifesto in only 3 words, what would that be?
Probably a big picture policy.
Big picture policy. Wonderful. Could you just final 16 seconds, could you elaborate on the fairer funding model that you were talking about?
Sure. Essentially, I don't want universities run like a business. This squeezes students, and it means that we all get worse off, and this badly impacts student well-being.
Thank you very much, though. Brilliant.
Thank you.